Hello dear learners, welcome back to your English class. I hope you all would be doing great. In today's video, we will be covering the final part of chapter 2, The Feathered Friend. In our previous video, we read that Sven was searching for Canary, but he could not find her anywhere. When he finally entered into the room, everyone was dumbstruck to see when he opened his hands. What was there in his hands? There was a tiny bundle of yellow feathers and two clenched claws that were sticking pathetically, miserably up in the air. All these show that something terribly had happened to Canary. And when he tried to hear the heartbeat of the bird, it was not there. And finally somebody suggested that we should put a shot of oxygen, we should give a shot of oxygen to the canary in order to regain her consciousness, in order to regain her heartbeat. So that suggestion was accepted. Let's see now what happened in this story. To our delighted surprise, she revived at once. When they put the oxygen mask on her face, they were pleasantly surprised to see that the bird revived. Revived means the bird became conscious again. The canary got his consciousness again. Beaming broadly, Sven removed the mask and she hopped onto his fingers. When Sven removed the mask from her face, she hopped onto his fingers. She gave her series of sharp trills. The bird produces a series of sharp trills, means short, high-pitched, repeated notes. And after then, promptly keeled over again. And after then, keeled over means collapsed because of tiredness or illness. It suddenly collapsed. As if someone is suffering from acute tiredness or illness. I don't get it, lamented Sven. What's wrong with her? She has never done this before. Sven was confused. He could not understand why the canary was behaving like this. She had never done this before. For the last few minutes, something had been tugging at my memory. My mind seemed to be sluggish that morning, as if I was still unable to cast off the burden of sleep. Now the narrator recalled his experience at early in the morning, that something was there, something happened, that he started feeling sluggish. There was a lack of energy in his body that morning and he was not able to cast off the burden of the sleep. He felt exhausted that morning and he could not, even despite the full night's sleep, he was not able to get rid of that tiredness. I felt that I could do with some of that oxygen, but before I could reach the mask, understanding exploded in my brain. And he was feeling uneasy to breathe. That's why he approached towards the mask to get some oxygen. But before he could reach the mask, there was something struck his mind. Understanding exploded in my brain means that the narrator suddenly realized that something of significance. He realized something very important all of a sudden. What was that? I whirled on to the duty engineer and said urgently, Jim, there is something wrong with the air. That's why Claribel's passed out. He told Jim that something is terribly wrong with the air and this is the reason of Claribel's death. Passed out means the Claribel died. This was the reason. The toxic air was the reason of Claribel's death. I have just remembered that miners used to carry canaries down to warn them of gas. He just recalled that. We have just read, understanding exploded in my mind, in my brain. That means he recalled something very important. And what was that important information? That miners used to carry canaries along with them, because the canaries used to warn them of gas. Nonsense, said Jim. Jim discarded his, piece of information. He said that nothing that sort of, there is no problem in the air. If there would have been any problem in the air, the alarms would have gone off. The alarms would have been blown off. we have got duplicate circuits. And then he gave the another explanation. Even we have got duplicate circuits operating independently, which does not require or which do not require any kind of the instruction. They work independently. Her second alarm circuit is not connected up yet, his assistant reminded him. Jim's assistant reminded him that, sir, wait a minute, the second alarm circuit is not connected up yet. We haven't connected the second alarm circuit yet, so it would not have produced the sound. That shook Jim. After listening this, Jim shook. He left without a word while we stood arguing and passing the oxygen bottle around like a pipe of peace. And they were struggling very hard to breathe. So that's why the oxygen mask was just going from one face to the another like a pipe of peace. He came back 10 minutes later with the sheepish expression. What is the meaning of sheepish? Sheepish means it's a kind of expression when we have done something wrong or embarrassing. If you have done something which is wrong or which is quite embarrassing, so that expression on your face is known as sheepish expression. It was one of those accidents that could not possibly happen. We had one of our rare eclipses by Earth's shadow that night. Part of the air purifier had frozen up and the single alarm in the circuit had failed to go off. And they could not believe that, because it was very difficult for them to believe that morning or that time in the morning they have got the rare eclipses by the Earth shadow that night, and whatever the air purifier was there in the space station, that had frozen up, and whatever the single alarm was there, the circuit had failed to go off. So they did not get the alarm, and even the air purifier was not working because it had frozen up. $500,000 worth of chemical and electronic engineering had let us down completely. You know that these softwares and the gadgets are very extremely costly, expensive, and they have spent $500,000 on these chemical and electronic engineering, but they were completely let down. They did not work at the right movement due to any of the flow or the snack. Without Clarabelle, we should have been slightly dead. If the Clarabelle would not be there, it might bring the death for all the. So now if you visit any space station, don't be surprised if you hear an inescapable snatch of bird song. The narrator says that in a humorous tone that if you now ever visit a space station, don't be surprised if you hear the sudden sound of a bird there. There is no need to be alarmed. On the contrary, in fact, it will mean that you were being doubly safeguarded at practically no extra expense. He said that there is no need to be surprised or astonished. On the contrary, it means that you are being double safeguarded, and that too practically at no extra expense. So now the question comes, pick out the humor in the last paragraph of the text. So the narrator says that it is because of the canary they escaped from the danger. The canary saved their lives. So the narrator humorously say that the presence of a canary in the space station would mean extra or double protection, and that too at no extra cost. So this is the end of today's chapter. The chapter has been written by Sir Arthur Charles Clarke. His lifespan is from 1917 to 2008. He was a British science fiction writer and a futurist, inventor, undersea explorer, television series host. He was both an avid popularizer of space travel and a futurist of uncanny means strange, ability. On these subjects, he wrote over a dozen books and many essays which appeared in various magazines. He was rightly called the prophet of space age. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for the next chapter. Bye. Have a great day.